Everybody. Oh, yeah, I didn't get my camera right yet. Thank you for joining our live. I am going to take a little bit more time to let some people get in, and we are going to jump in because I try to jump right in. Good. Hi, hey, how you doing, Sil? Thank you for joining. Hello, hey, Patrice, how you doing? I'm so excited to see everybody. So I'm just going to take about 30 seconds to get everybody in, but I'm also going to give you a question to consider. When you see your child's grades, what's the first thing you feel? Or how did your own parents handle your grades when you were a child? So I want to give people some time to get in. And when you pick one of those questions and answer it in the chat for me so we can kind of get the conversation going. And I'm going to wait a little bit longer for a couple people to get in so we can get started with baselines and grades. And so we're going to do that. And while we're waiting, I just want to tell you the link in my bio gives you access to my subscription. So if you subscribe, you'll get not only 4 weeks of our tip sheets, but you'll also get the Tuesday follow up recap sheet of all the information I'm providing. So thank you so much. I'm going to value your time. So we're going to get started in about 10 seconds. So thank you so much. And I would love to see everybody's responses. Hey, we got somebody else in here. Thank you so much. I appreciate you joining the live. So again, when you see your child's grades, what's the first thing you feel? Or how did your own parents handle your grades when you were a child? And so tonight, what we're going to be doing is we are in week 9 of our series, and we're going to talk about something every parent faces: grades and beginning of the year assessments. These scores can feel like a big deal to us and our kids and can be a source of tremendous stress and or tremendous joy. But remember, it's important that grades and assessments are not the full picture. They are just a snapshot of what we see, what our child is doing, especially at this time of the year. It is the basis for growth. It is where they are now, and it's a roadmap of where we want to get them so that they can make sure they meet benchmark standards and grade level expectations by the end of the school year. So we don't want to use grades as punishment. That's the first thing. Because sometimes you bring home a C, you're gonna get in trouble. We don't want to do that. We want to say, okay, I see you got all A's and a C. Let's talk about what your strengths and weaknesses are. How do you feel about that? What are we going to do? Last week we talked about creating a plan and setting up milestones for making sure they are checking on that plan. So we want to make sure that we are valuing that they did get great grades for the other classes. And now let's see what we can do to help support them in the other class. So I see some comments here. I was expected to do well without assistance when I was a child. When my kids share their grades, I also expect them to do well. But if they need support, they will get it. Absolutely. The support is so important. And when we're trying to build confidence in children, we want to make sure that we're not beating them down. Actually, especially if they need the help if they're struggling, and we want to make sure we lift them up. And so next week we're going to be talking about parent conferences as well. So that's going to go from there. So with that being said, we want to make sure we understand that grades are feedback, not finality. That's why you get progress reports in the middle of the school year. Those progress or in the middle of the quarter. The progress reports say this is their progress. This is where they are. So we got 4 more weeks to figure out what we need to do to get them there. Also, in our state, Florida, we have baseline assessments. That's PM1 and then progress monitoring assessment, PM2, PM3. So when you all, and it depends on what subject you have, when you get what's known as baseline assessments, that's a snapshot of where your child is now. And if you actually go in and look at some of the data provided, it can give you key information about your child's strengths and your child's weaknesses so that you can help them set goals, personal goals that they want to do for their academics, but you can also set goals together as to how you can make sure that they meet whatever their goals are and they meet your expectations as well. So, for example, in the language arts test, there are 3 categories. You have informational text, reading for prose and poetry, and reading across genres. Most parents are like, what does that mean? Well, there are so many resources available to help you unpack and understand what that means. And then once you understand what it means, it shows you where your child scored, whether they are on grade level, whether they are below, what you need to do to help them support them is also included on the Florida FAST, FLFAST.com, I think it's .com or .org website. I know our state has that, but other states may have something very similar. Also, making sure that we ask the teacher if we're not sure about what does this mean? How can I support my child? Those are the types of questions you want to ask when you go into the parent teacher conference. Don't just say, okay, my child came home, they got D's and F's. Oh boy, we're going to beat them. They can't go outside. We're going to take all of this stuff away from them so they can't enjoy themselves because they need to get their grades up. But have we answered the question, how? Have we helped them figure out how they're going to get their grades up? And that's where we need to come in with a plan and then something that we can do to make sure we have checkpoints along the way to keep them motivated, because a child that is confident in their abilities will move mountains. But students that think that, oh, this is punishment, kind of like making them read for punishment, that is the worst thing you can do. Don't do that. Do you make them do math problems for punishment? You need to multiply 2 times 200, 3,000 times as punishment. No, that's going to make them not want to do the things we want them to do, make them develop a disdain and a hate for something that they're really going to need. I see another comment. I go into her grade portal. Oh gosh, parents, please go into the grade portal. That is so important, with the mindset of celebrating where she's doing well and co-collaborating on an intentional plan for improvement. I love that. Absolutely. We want to be intentional with our kids. We want to make sure that we are giving them the tools, setting them up for success and not beating them up for perceived failures. All right, so we want to make sure that we have these three parent strategies we can do. Understand the testing, understand where they are strong, understand where they need support, and then hello, how you doing? And then make sure that we provide assistance with what they need. There are so many things you can use resources, Khan Academy. You can even Google. I tell my students all the time, Google whatever it is. So if they're struggling with figurative language, Google figurative language help for students and based on their grade level. So many things out there you can do. We need to find out why they didn't do it exactly and set up tutoring sessions for them. Absolutely. Hey, how you doing? Somebody know me. I'm not sure who that is. Put your name in the chat. So that is important. Find out why they didn't do well. When you go into like the grade book, I know for us, we have the focus portal here in Duval County. So teachers can tell you if it's the homework that's killing them, if it's the assessments that's killing them, or if it's the classwork. So obviously, if it's something like that that they need support with, like if it's just them being lazy, absolutely, you want to say, okay, I know that you have this plan to become an engineer. Well, you're struggling in science and math. What are some things we can do to help you with those subjects? Okay. But now, if it's something truly a deficit, for example, last time I told y'all to listen to your children read. How many of y'all actually listened to your child read out loud? Don't just watch them with a book. Listen to them read. And if you are surprised at what you hear, that could be why they're struggling in school. Okay? Because just because we see a child with a book does not mean they are reading fluently or understanding what they're reading. So sit down, listen to them read, and then if you're concerned, because as teachers, here are some things that cause us great concern. If you're concerned, then that's when you say, okay, I need to call the teacher, figure out what's going on, because there could be some issues with phonemic awareness, phonics, all these little baseline gaps that they have that we need to fill. Uh-oh. And once we fill those gaps, those children will be more confident and more successful. Okay. And having those conversations will help you with that as well. Focus on progress, not just the grades, you guys. Yes, the grades are important. Yes, we want them to be successful. Yes, we want them to have a high GPA. But if they don't know how to get there and all they hear is you didn't make straight A's, now you're going to be in trouble, then we need to figure out how to frame that differently. What makes, ask them questions. What subject feels easy right now? Which feels like a challenge? And then we want to turn these reports into a source for planning, not punishment. Just think about it with you. If some of your boss keep telling you what you're not doing right and threatening you as an adult, we may have a little bit more motivation to do stuff, but in regulatory sense to do things differently. But ultimately, you have that animosity. You're like, man, I ain't working for him. I'm gonna show up at 8 and leave at 5. That's it. Hmm, who they talking to. So we want to make sure we absolutely help them figure out ways to do what they need to do. Schedule small grade check-ins. Don't let the progress report be the only check-in, okay? Because then you're gonna have problems. And don't attack the teacher. Please don't attack the teacher. Okay, unless they deserve attack. Now, if they ain't put no grades in and stuff, and then you see a F, and you're like, wait, what happened? That's a reason to call, not have an attack, but to message them and say, okay, what's going on? But don't blame the teacher for your child having a low grade, especially if you haven't been talking to them and keeping up with what's going on in class. Check your child's book bag. Oh my gosh, people, if you all looked in these book bags, y'all, some of y'all will be a little bit surprised. All right. So make these short talks, not lectures, and then make sure you connect again what their grades are to their goals. Next week, we're going to talk about conferences. Make sure that you schedule a conference as soon as you know there's an issue. And here's something I used to do. When I knew that I was going to have to intervene with my child at school, I just set up a conference at the beginning of the school year. It ain't even had no issue. Hey, look, we need to have a conference with all teachers so I can tell you what's going on, tell you where what's my lens, what I'm coming from, and tell me how I can support you and my child in school. That's what I did proactively, not reactively. Okay, so what's one way you encourage your child when grades don't look the way you hoped? What's one way you celebrate your child when they do? Okay, so we talked about in a previous week not using like carrot sticks as motivations. Okay, if you do this, you get a doggone a lollipop. No, we want to build that intrinsic motivation. So, how do you celebrate your child for success? And how do you help them refrain when they don't get the grade that they think they should, or that they work really hard studying for a test and it still didn't come out? What do you do? Just remember, grades are feedback, not destiny. They are not the identity of your child. They are tools to help plan a path to get them to be successful. And if they are already successful, if your child is making straight A's and stuff, figure out ways to challenge them, figure out ways to help them see if they can do even bigger projects. They can ask. They can ask the teacher for more challenging things or for different things. If we know that they are mastering benchmarks, maybe they can do a project to show their growth. So there are so many ways to make sure that you are partnering with your teacher to help your child have the best educational outcomes as possible. And as always, I am here to support you. Please ask me any questions you have so that I can make sure that you are given all the tools you need to be successful parents and have successful children that love themselves inside and out just the way that they are. Okay, your kids give you suggestions on how to celebrate. That is key. Yes, they will tell you what they want. Mama, I don't want no pie. I just want to go bike ride for 2 hours without you being on the phone. How about that? Is that doable? Yeah, we can do stuff like that. So just make sure that we are talking to them, encouraging them, and giving them the tools they need to be successful. So please share this if you will. If you like some tips, please share this video. If not, tell me what I could do differently or what I could share to help you with this. Next week, we're talking about conferences and how to make sure that you are building a partnership with your teachers. And hopefully, I will see you. Make sure you click the link in bio so you can get the tip sheet for tomorrow. And you all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Thank you, Patrice. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I appreciate you. You got me smiling. I'm excited. Okay. All right, y'all. Take care. Have a good evening. Bye. Oh boy. End stream. There we go. End.